What's crack-a-lacking, guys and girls? Legatus Legionis here. Today, this is going to be the first episode of my sort of background information to Rome 2, the start of the campaign, what day it's going to be. Just to give you some more information on what you should know, some key characters that may be in it. Okay, well, I'm just going to jump straight into it. This one's going to cover the first Punic War, just be a bit of an overview. I'm thinking the Rome 2 campaign is going to be starting it would be the smart thing to have it start at about 270 BC, like it did in the first one, because that is the perfect prime moment, prime sort of decade or era that all the major powers or all factions in the Mediterranean are expanding. It'll give the best campaign experience, so this is where I'm just going to sort of base off my background information for you. So, I'm going to hit straight off now with the First Punic War, which starts in 264 BC, as it's sort of like Rome saying, well, I don't want Carthage, because Carthage ally with this mercenary, will help the mercenaries of, which have settled in Messana, and they don't really ally with them, they help them in a war with Syracuse, which they lose a battle to Hiero II of Syracuse. Is called Tyrant. By the way, the Tyrant only means rule of the one, or like rule of only one person. It doesn't mean like the actual tyrant it means today. It's that's kind of developed from that. And the Carthaginians, they help peace between the Messanan mercenaries, which actually originate from Italy and Syracuse. But it's ironic, really, because the mercenaries, they ask for help for both Carthage and Rome. They're in a dire situation. They ask for help for both of the major factions. Obviously, Carthage answers first. They help them out. They put a garrison in Messana, which Rome doesn't like. Rome doesn't like people thinking they're better than them and putting an army or a garrison so close to their border. They basically don't like people thinking they're more powerful than they are. So they react to this. They help out the Messanan mercenaries, who are at this time they're quite annoyed with the Carthaginians because they put a garrison there and they're not liking it much. So they come in. Appius Claudius Codex comes in with 2 legions, lands in Messana, and there's an actual siege going on at the time. Like the Messanan mercenaries, they kill the garrison, and Carthaginians and oddly the Syracusans, who originally didn't want to ally with Carthage but are now allied with them for some reason, they're sieging Messana. The 2 legions and the mercenaries, they break the siege, and this then leads to the siege of Syracuse, which isn't very long. Once the Syracusans actually find out that Carthaginian help isn't coming, they make peace with the Romans and join with them. So that's like the whole of eastern Sicily now Roman control. So getting next on, this then leads to the Battle of Agrigentum, which basically the battle happens because they don't like. It's a huge siege going on. There've been a siege for a while. There's disease in the Roman camp. The Carthaginians inside the city, they're not having a good time either. So they decide to have an open battle in which Romans, being Romans, are being completely badass in the field. They pwn the Carthaginians, leaving the city pretty easily open for an assault, and they get it pretty easily. Right, moving on again. The one problem they kind of have, though, is not on land. They really suck at sea. The Romans build ships, and actually they fight about a mile. This is a clear victory for Rome, which is kind of surprising since they kind of suck with ships at the moment. But this is mainly due because they have a new invention called the Corvus, which allows the Roman ships to latch onto the Carthaginian ones and capture them. I think the figures were something like 20 original ships were captured, and then Hamilcar. This isn't Hamilcar Barca. This is a different Hamilcar. Hamilcar is like a really really common name in Carthage, and you'll be hearing it a lot. So they win that battle at Mylae, but on land, another Hamilcar, he counterattacks and defeats the Romans in 260 BC as they advance. This is like a sort of a northern area, I think, and this then, like, it goes really well, and the Romans they think they're thinking of new strategies, and they actually send an invasion force to Africa. It's more of like a raiding force, and it's under Marcus Attalus Regulus in 256, 255. They invade Africa, they raid the countryside, they pillage and burn. It goes really, really well. But then the Carthaginians do what they do best: dip into their pockets and they actually buy a mercenary called Xanthippus. He's a Spartan mercenary, but you need to bear in mind the Spartans aren't all what they used to be. If you see in like 300, they kind of lie a little bit. I mean, obviously they were pretty good. They were the best fighting force in the world back in about 450s BC. I know they didn't even lose a single battle for like 300 years on land, but still, they're still pretty good at this time. They're not like very good. They're not like, they don't do the Agoge, I don't think, anymore. Like, the whole system collapsed after the Peloponnesian War. But that's another story for another day. So Xanthippus, he reorganises the Carthaginian army and actually defeats Regulus, capturing him. And the Carthaginian navy then actually cut off supplies and stuff for the rest of the army, and the invasion basically just falls apart. So this gives them, Carthaginians a respite in 252 BC, but it kind of, it gets the Roman invasion gets renewed, and they capture basically the whole northern Sicily. Early in 258, they've advanced and captured central Sicily. So they're basically the Roman strategy for this is to go city by city and basically foot slog it, capture city by city, because they have no really other way of doing it. They just have to go one by one, take them down. There's nothing major they can do to go for peace. So this obviously takes 23 years to do. So it's not like a very small undertaking. So 252 BC, respite. Most of northern Sicily is captured. 250, the Romans push southwest. The Roman fleet again, they get destroyed like so many times. But at Drepana, the Roman fleet goes again. Rome builds another one. 247, I think. Nope, 241. The Battle of Aegae's Island. Gaius Lucius Catulus is actually a consul at the time. He's victorious against the Carthaginian fleet, so it kind of seems worthwhile. But throughout the first Peloponnesian War, what am I getting at? The first Punic War, Roman fleets get destroyed like 2 or 3 times, and they rebuild them. But in 247 then, which is slightly beforehand, actual Hamilcar Barca, the actual Hamilcar, the father of Hannibal, who we'll talk about in the next one, he arrives on the scenes. Rome basically builds more fleets. Right, now this is kind of nearing the end now. It's been quite a long time. Hamilcar can't really do too much. He's kind of come a little too late. He uses guerrilla tactics on the army. It kind of slows it down, but he has literally no chance at actually wiping out Roman forces. Rome is now pretty much just steamrolling it. He can only sort of delay it. And in, obviously, the end, Rome wins this, and Carthage it's basically been made to, pardon me, I keep burping. Rome makes Carthage, basically, Sicily becomes province. I know Rome makes Carthage give up Corsica and Sardinia, so they become Roman again, and they've been made to actually give Rome quite a bit of money. I think it's like 500 silver talents a year for 50 years. These are obviously not very good terms for the Carthaginians, which is half the reason why it's 2,200 talents. of silver. So these aren't very good terms for the Carthaginians. It's kind of one of the reasons why it leads to the Second Punic War, but we'll come to that in the next video. So yeah, I think that's just kind of like a general overview of the First Punic War. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more of these. I will be making another one on the Second Punic War. Then I'll probably do the Third Punic War, and then I may go back to what's happening elsewhere in the Mediterranean. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe. If you want to maybe add a few things in the comments, like, well, I don't think you said this properly, I don't like you doing this and this and this, I think you could have added this and this, but I've basically just skimmed it down to what I think is the most important parts, or just a kind of brief overview. I haven't really gone too much detail, but yeah, I'll be seeing you.